Good morning, dear students. Here we back again with the second lesson of our second week. Today, we're going to continue with Global English book. So, let's begin without further ado. We will start first with our objectives. So, today we're going to summarize Unit 10. Unit 10 is about design and shapes. So, it's going to be a very short one. We're going to cover 5 points again. The first one will be countable and uncountable nouns revision. You already have ideas about this one. However, we're going to remind you about it. After that, we will move on to quantifiers with these countable and uncountable nouns. The third point will be irregular plurals. And after that, we're going to discuss some shapes. And finally, we're going to analyze a very simple poem. First, we're going to start with countable and uncountable nouns. You are very familiar with these two concepts. You know, when we say countable nouns, you already know that these nouns can be counted, like 3 apples or 5 books or pictures. All these words are countable words. However, when we talk about sugar, information, water, all these words cannot be counted. So it's wrong to say 3 sugars or 5 waters. These expressions here will be wrong. So you should always remember that countable nouns can take singular or plural verbs. It depends on the noun itself. If we say 1 book, then is. If we say 3 books, then it should be are. However, uncountable nouns are always singular. For example, if I say water, I cannot say water are. I should say water is, sugar is. So, after demonstrating the meaning of countable and uncountable nouns, we would move on to quantifiers, because quantifiers are usually used before these countable or non-countable nouns. So, first, what are quantifiers? We already dealt with this concept in grade 7's book, and now we're going to move on with other details with it. So, quantifiers, for you to remember, are words that are used to state quantity or amount of something without stating the actual number. So, when I say many, much, several, most, few, all these words are quantifier. They're giving you the quantity, the amount, however, not the real number. Example for that would be, I brought many books. So many here is definitely a quantifier. Where's the countable or non-countable noun here? It's books. And again, it's countable one. As grade 7's book gave us the basic quantifiers that we need, like many and all the ones that we explained before, this book is offering us different type of quantifiers. So here we will deal in page 78 with other types like a bar of chocolate, a loaf of bread, a slice of cake, a bunch of flowers, a bottle of water, a jar of olives, a can of cola, a tin of soup. All these can be considered quantifiers again. Why? Because they're giving us the amount but without stating a number. So you can find many of these examples in page 78. Moving on to page 79 with exercise number 5, we would find a very simple exercise. Actually, this exercise is much lower than our level, however, we're going to solve it anyway. So for the first one, we have uh, we have a slice of toast. For the second one, it is a bag of peas. For the third one, it's a bar of soap, while for the fourth one, it's a bottle of olive oil. The fifth one would be a box of chocolate. The sixth one here would be a bunch of grapes. The seventh one could have two solutions. You could either say a tin of tuna, or a can of tuna. Both would be right. The 8 will be a cartoon of ice cream, 9 would be a jar of honey, and 10 would be a packet of sweets. Since we talked about countable nouns, which is changing a noun from singular to plural, sometimes we see that we have different plurals. So we're going to state some of these differences, some of these irregularities. So to start with the first one, it's that the singular and plural are the same. No difference will happen with the word. So when you have one sheep is the same as 3 sheep, you will not say 3 sheeps. That would be wrong because the singular and the plural are the same. The same can be applied on fish. Fish for fish. It's the same. Salmon and deer can hold the same rule. Moving on to the second one, we have irregular plurals. These cannot be predictable. You cannot know how would they change unless you know them already. So to start with the first one, child definitely cannot be childs. It should be children. Man, men. Woman, women. Foot, feet. Tooth, teeth. Mouse will be mice. And ox will be oxen. For goose, it will be geese. That's the other type of irregularities. And now we would move on to plural nouns that have no singular. They are plural, they have no singular at all. So the first one is people. You have the word people. There is no singular for this one, unless you bring a whole different word, which is person. For clothes, the same can be said. Trousers, you cannot say my trouser. It's the word trousers in all the cases, even if you're talking about one. Police, congratulations. You shouldn't say congratulation at all. It's always congratulations. Cattle and thanks are the same rule. It is worthy to mention that whenever you have words like love, the one that ends with F, and you want to make it plural by adding S or ES, you should always notice that the F wouldn't remain F. You should make or you should change the F to V and then add the ES. So a loaf of bread will be 2 loaves of bread. The F will change to V. Now we will move on to a different topic which talks about shapes. These mathematical shapes are already known by you and you have them in math. However, we're going to know their names here. So we have a simple matching exercise. We're going to say the word and match it with the shapes that are given on the right. So you have the first one, sphere. Where is a sphere? It's definitely number 2. It's like a ball, a shape like a ball. Then you have the word cube. A cube is number 4. Number 4 is a cube. Then you have a cylinder. Where's a cylinder? It is number 9. Moving on to the fourth one, triangular prism. Triangular prism is number 5. By the way, tri in Greek, it means 3. So whenever you have tri at the beginning of something, it means 3. 3 angles here. Then, moving to hexagonal prism. Hexa, again in Greek, it means 6. So which shape contains 6 angles? Is definitely number 6. Moving on to the other word, which is square-based pyramid. A pyramid, like the one found in Egypt, but with a square base. So this one is number 1. Triangular pyramid is number 3. Again, triangular, 3. Then we move on to hemisphere. Where's a hemisphere? This will be number 8. It's the half ball. Then we have the last one, which is cone. It's definitely number 7. As you're having a look on your book, you would notice that we have many exercises that were not trying to solve. These exercises are usually listening and sometimes reading. So these exercises will be for you to deal with it. Since you have the CD already, you can always work on your listening development and do it individually. Now, we're going to move to another part of our lesson. This part will be poetry. We already dealt with some difficult poems in the other book, in the checkpoint books. However, here we have a very simple poem. It's written by a child of 12 years old called Elizabeth Brewster. We're going to read it first, and then we're going to answer its questions. Why is it important to analyze poetry? It's important to know the themes, to know the rhyme scheme, to know the rhythm. However, here we have a very simple poem that we're going to talk about later. So first, I will read it and you try to read it, and then we're going to reflect the answers. So this poem is called or entitled Where I Come From. People are made of places. They carry with them hints of jungles or mountains, a tropic grace, or the cool eyes of sea gazers. Atmosphere of cities, how different drops from them, like the smell of smog, or the almost not smell of tulips in the spring. Nature tidily plotted in the little squares, with a fountain in the center, museum smell. Art also tidily plotted with a guidebook, or a smell of work, glue factories maybe. Chromium plated offices, smell of subways, crowded at rush hours. Where I come from, people carry woods in their minds, acres of pine woods, blueberry patches in the burned out bush, wooden farmhouses, old in need of paint, with yards of where hens and chickens circles about, clucking aimlessly, battered schoolhouses behind which violets grow. Spring and winter are the mind's chief season, ice and breaking of ice. A door in the mind blows open, and there blows a frosty wind from fields of snow. Here, you would notice that we have many figures of speech that we talked about, and sometimes we have alliteration. We have many types that the writer used. So you can find all of these, but now we're going to answer the questions that are already given in page 85. So I would give you time to stop the video and start solving these questions. If you want to analyze the rhyme scheme of this poem, you wouldn't be able to do so because first you would check the endings of each line and you would find that you couldn't find the rhyme scheme, the regular ones that we find A, B, C, B, whatever it is, because this one is free verse and free verse doesn't have regular rhyme scheme. So we're going to stick to the questions given here on page 85. For the first one, for example, you have read the first three lines of the poem again from people to sea gazers. What is the purpose of these three lines? We would know what's the purpose by reading it again. People are made of places. They carry with them hints of jungles or mountains, a tropic grace, or the cool eyes of sea gazers. What does that mean? It simply means, or the poet wants to deliver, that people are affected by the places they live. Their behavior, their memories will be all affected by these places. For number two, read the rest of the first verse, from atmosphere of cities to crowded at rush hour. How does the author feel about cities? Well, here you can also read it and find different answers between each person. So for me, I would feel that the poet wants to say that cities are different, are diverse. Each city has its own things going on. For number three, read the second verse. How does the author feel about where she comes from? Again, answers may be different. You would feel that she finds her old place as not developed enough. However, you can feel that she loves spring and winter. And for the fourth one, read the last verse. What do you think it means? It can mean, or it can talk about memories, because she says, a door in mind blows open. So whenever she imagines or thinks of her old place, memories comes to her mind about snow, about all the things that happened there. Now, for exercise number 4, what do you think the following lines from the poem mean? We would take some lines and try to analyze them. In this case, we would know the meaning of them. So, the first one, art also tidily plotted with a guidebook. What does she mean? Well, here, the poet is talking about art galleries in cities where pictures are displayed in an ordered way. So, it's about galleries. For number 2, people carry woods in their minds. What does it mean again? You can say that people have memories in the countryside where they grew up. In this case, their memories are of wood. For the third one, spring and winter are the mind's chief seasons, ice and the breaking of ice. What does that mean? In a very cold climate such as Canada, the winter can be extremely cold, so when spring arrives, it's an important event. As for the fifth exercise, we're not going to solve it. However, I want you to think of what images mean. When did we talk about images in poetry? Actually, we explained that when we talked about imagery. You remember the language that appeals to your five senses? Seeing, smelling, uh, tasting, touching, in addition to hearing. You would find many examples about that in this poem. So try at least to find two or three of them. Arriving to the end of our lesson, if you have any question, you can leave it in the comment section and I will gladly answer it. Thank you so much again for watching.